World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Hello, and welcome once again to another fantastic Tuesday where your dressed down CEO host, Tyrone Glover, is here live in Yonkers, New York, doing what I do best, which is helping you get to that next level financially. If you are not making money in your sleep, you don't have stability, you have exposure. Ladies and gentlemen, we're bringing it to you real, live, straight with no chaser, letting you know exactly what we need to do. All right. I'm not going to make a long speech this time. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. We're getting ready to celebrate our 250th year birthday. If we continue the status quo, it's just going to continue in the same manner. We have to decide. We can't let this get to 251. It's up to all of us, African Americans, Hispanics, Caucasians, poor, middle class, those who already know the circumstances are not changing. You're going to have to do more and better. So again, as we get started, I want to thank all of you for giving us time, for making time, for being here for these particular sessions, for also coming in at a later time frame or going back and viewing them also equally at a later time frame. Today, we're going to dive into a subject matter that I believe everyone should want to know about. All right. And it's not that hard. So happy Women's Month as we get ready to wrap this up. To all my students, thank you so much for allowing me the time. But we're going to dive right on into it. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to Soul City Network for giving us the opportunity to do what we do. And you are live right here on Soul City. Soul City has a platform that is big. It's large. We want to continue to keep growing this audience. So please tune in whenever you get the opportunity, not just to this Soul City's programs are available nationally on Roku, Fire TV, Apple, and Apple TV. Do your due diligence and start giving this platform a bit more of your attention because there's great content that's constantly coming through. But without further ado, let's dive in. As we do, we change things up a little bit. So we have an article that we're going to play first. Then we're going to dive into that amazing PowerPoint presentation that supports the article. Ladies and gentlemen, my Substack is available, is ready for you, is waiting for you. So let's dive into, and as you can see, the burial of Black America. This is something that this article is going to, it's going to hurt. It's going to sting. It's going to do a lot of the things that you were hoping it wouldn't do, but I'm so super proud that it did. But here we go.
The burial of Black America. How land, wealth, and communities were taken in plain sight by real ones in the room. 3 questions before we begin. 1. If property ownership is the foundation of wealth in America, what happens when entire communities are stripped of their land? 2. If governments can seize land through law, who protects the people when that power becomes a weapon? 3. If millions walk daily over erased Black communities, what else in American history has been excavated, whitewashed, and renamed as progress?
All right, let's think about that for a second. If property ownership is the foundation of wealth in America, what happens when entire communities are stripped of their land? If governments can seize land through law, who protects the people when the power becomes a weapon? And lastly, if millions walk daily over erased Black communities, what else in American history can be eradicated, whitewashed, and renamed as progress? Come on now. I'm going to stop there because let's play it out. Let's keep going.
Power rarely announces its theft. It buries it, renames it, and calls it progress. Part 1. The Great Land Extraction. Beneath the conveniences of modern America, parks, lakes, highways, airports, and office buildings, lies a second unseen map, a geography of dispossession. Between the late 19th and mid-20th centuries, hundreds of thousands of Black Americans were stripped of land and homes through racial terror, predatory law, eminent domain, and public renewal programs. The Equal Justice Initiative and historian Andrew W. Carl estimate over 12 million acres of Black-owned land were lost between 1910 and 1997, an expropriation valued in the hundreds of billions of dollars. Many families were paid a fraction of market value. Others received no compensation at all. Lynchings, forced expulsions, and retaliatory arson campaigns made legal recourse impossible in regions controlled by white supremacist power structures. This was not simply displacement, it was an intergenerational extraction of wealth, a quiet transfer of capital, soil, and opportunity that built modern America atop stolen foundations.
Now, as I told you, again, I told you that I was going to make it hurt. I was going to make it sting. I was going to make it so that you couldn't walk away without knowing how we got here. And that's the biggest part of this whole experiment that I'm attempting to put out there, that we cannot do what we don't know. Now that we know what has happened, we can't ignore it any longer. We can't allow for our elected officials. We can't allow for those who have been in these offices for as long as they've been in these offices to continue to keep the status quo. The history is no mystery. And I did my due diligence and went farther back than I should have. But nevertheless, I'm still going to keep making sure that our people know before we start rebuilding, before we start recognizing what has been done, so that there are no questions when we start to ask for our understanding of equality. You got to know where it happened, what happened, where it came from, and it's going to dive even further into it. This might be a two-part series, but nevertheless, I don't mind doing two-part series, but you can see everything that's being demonstrated. I told you in the beginning, when we started at the beginning of the year, we're going to be coming with facts. We're going to be coming with data. We're going to be coming with evidence. We're going to be coming with resources, and we're going to bring the receipts. And all of you who think that for whatever reason, the naysayers, the peddling stations of misinformation, whoever wants to challenge, please, I've always said it, and I'm going to continue to keep saying it. You have an open invitation anytime you want. Let's keep it rolling.
Part 2, Lake Lanier, a community buried underwater. Today, Lake Lanier in Georgia welcomes over 12 million visitors each year, its shimmering surface masking a submerged past. Beneath it lies Oscarville, a once thriving Black farming community violently erased in 1912. The expulsion of 1912. Following accusations involving white women, a recurring pretext for racial terror, white mobs mobilized across Forsyth County. Night riders burned homes, destroyed churches, and issued death threats. Within weeks, more than 1,000 Black residents fled under duress. Abandoned lands were seized or sold at gunpoint. For nearly a century, the county remained over 99% white. The creation of the lake. In the 1950s, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers flooded the area during construction of Buford Dam under the Rivers and Harbors Act of 1946. Oscarville, its homes, cemeteries, and schools, was drowned under federal water. To this day, divers document remnants of roads, walls, and grave markers submerged beneath one of the nation's favorite playgrounds. What millions see as recreation is, for others, a reservoir of erasure. Part 3, Seneca Village, the Black community erased for Central Park. Long before New York Central Park became an icon of leisure, it was the home of Seneca Village, a self-sustaining, multiracial community founded in 1825 by free Black landowners. At a time when property ownership was tied to voting rights, Seneca Village represented freedom in physical form. By the 1850s, it featured 225 to 300 residents, 3 churches, a school, and dozens of homes. Significant Black property ownership, rare before the Civil War. The seizure. In 1853, invoking eminent domain, New York City condemned the land to create Central Park. Over 1,600 people were displaced, Seneca Village residents among them. Payments were inconsistent and often undervalued. Their homes, institutions, and history were erased. For over a century, maps omitted their name. Only archaeological excavations beginning in the 1990s resurrected their story, proof that remembrance itself can be a form of resistance.
And nothing against Central Park. I like Central Park. I think it's pretty cool, but I know Central Park has a checkered history, a checkered past. I know Central Park has a lot of situations that go on in Central Park that people choose to ignore, but I never knew that Central Park was a prominent Black neighborhood. It may not have seen the light of what, surrounding neighborhoods may have seen with being able to update themselves, but I'm almost certain it would have had that same understanding as, say, maybe Tulsa, Oklahoma. Given its history, it would have probably developed into something similar to that. But because of what we now are seeing today, the same thing that went on back in the 40s and the 50s is going on now today. Same understandings. We got big developers coming in, buying up land, creating situations of unaffordability. It's no mystery. The history is already proven. And we're not mad. We're not upset. We're not angry. But I'm just saying, we have to know why and how we got here. And this history is going to only explain it further. So hopefully those who look like us, those who are being marginalized, will now understand we have to come together, stand up, use our dollar, use our voices. There's a midterm coming up. There's a general election coming up. But you got to know why and how we got here. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving.
Part 4, Southwest Washington, D.C., Urban Renewal, Urban Removal. In the mid-20th century, the federal government declared war on what it labeled urban blight. The battleground was Southwest D.C., home to a vibrant working-class, majority Black community. Under the Housing Act of 1949, redevelopment promised modernization. Instead, it delivered removal. Approximately 23,000 residents, about 70% Black, were displaced.
I'm going to pause it right there. 70% Black. So we're wondering where our wealth went. There it is. Wealth comes through ownership. And when you don't own, guess what? There is no wealth. So we're laboring thinking that that's going to get us that wealth that we're seeking, and it's never going to happen. So again, you have to decide what type of future do you want. But in order to be able to get to that future, you have to now know your history. You have to know that we are of greatness. We come from kings and queens. We have done this before. And now all we need to do is start reprioritizing. All right, but this is Washington, D.C. First one was New York. The second one was New York. The first one before that was, where's that? That was Atlanta. No secret here. All of it's documented. All of it is somewhere. If I found it, trust me, everybody else can find it too. All right, let's keep the ball rolling.
Homes and businesses destroyed. Those who remained often couldn't afford the gleaming new apartments or offices that replaced their neighborhoods. Activists renamed it what it was: urban renewal or Negro removal. The Washington example was repeated in dozens of U.S. cities from Detroit to New Orleans, each time dismantling the physical centers of Black economic and cultural life. Part 5, The Pattern: Infrastructure versus Black Property. Across the mid-20th century, federally subsidized infrastructure projects followed a devastating formula: build progress through black neighborhoods. Examples include Black Bottom/Paradise Valley. Detroit bulldozed for freeways and redevelopment in the 1950s. Rondo, St. Paul, Minnesota 600. Families displaced by Interstate 94. Claiborne Avenue, New Orleans Interstate 10 destroyed a thriving business corridor. Haiti District, Durham, North Carolina. Hundreds of homes lost to renewal. Overtown, Miami. A historic black business hub split by highways. Sociologists like Mindy Thompson-Fullilove call it root shock, the collective trauma caused when entire communities are ripped from their economic and spiritual soil.
And this is just a fraction. This is just a small little glimpse into the 120 plus thriving black neighborhoods that contributed to, but yet still have not seen their ROI, return on investment. And we're still doing it today. We're still contributing to this economy. We're still making sure that those establishments and every device that we have and whatever that might look like continues to make more and more and more and more and more. At some point, we're going to get fed up. I think we have reached that point. I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of the excuses. Well, as I've been saying so many times, not just today, but as the year has started, it's either excuses or results, but you can't have both. I tell it to my students all the time. Now that you know, the question is, what are you going to do? And as I said, and I'm going to constantly keep saying, do not be mad. Do not be upset. Do not be angry. Do not let the oppressor force you into situations that you already know you should not be baited into. You have to come with facts. And once you have facts, you have to deliver them so unapologetically that it starts getting the results that you want. It's just that simple. All right. I'm giving you a master class in what happened to our wealth. And now we're going to have to start exercising that brilliance, that brightness, that understanding that we have, that we come from much better and we deserve much better.
Part 6, the wealth gap connection. Property is the engine of American wealth. Its loss is the architecture of inequality. Federal Reserve data, 2023, shows the median white household holds roughly 8x the wealth of the median black household. Homeownership remains 30% lower among black Americans. The causes are not cultural, they're structural. Racial redlining by the Home Owners Loan Corporation, 1930s, 1960s. Segregationist zoning. Urban renewal displacements. Reverse migration due to violence and dispossession. Each event compounded over generations, creating a chasm between those who inherited homes and those whose homes were taken. Part 7, the evidence. The archival trail is vast and undeniable. National Archives and Records Administration, NARA, holds federal urban renewal and land seizure documents. Congressional Housing Committee reports from the 1940s, 1970s detail the racialized outcomes of federal redevelopment. University research, including studies by Duke, Harvard, and Howard, chronicle black land loss and displacement. The National Museum of African American History and Culture curates exhibits on these erased communities. This is not hearsay or conspiracy. It is recorded history, hiding in open sight.
And there it is, more evidence, more evidence. The National Archive of Records, all right, administration, the Congressional Housing Committee, universities, research, including Duke, Harvard, and Howard. All right, the National Museum of African American History, Cultural. All right, this is nothing that I'm just making up. This is nothing that I'm just pulling out of the thin air or grabbing from my hind parts. No, this is evidence, receipts, documenting that we have had, and we need to get back to that. Because I say it again, this is something that I constantly keep saying to my students. There's 3 categories that we should be focusing on. This is not a racial conversation any longer. This is not a poor, working homeless, middle class. This has nothing to do with that any longer. This is between the haves, the have-nots, and the have-lots. And the person in that White House occupying the people's house is demonstrating it in full view that he doesn't care about that lower echelon, that he and his administration will do whatever they can to keep marginalized people marginalized. All we have to do is, we want to shut it down, reallocate our resources. Put our resources into Black-owned businesses. Put our resources into women-owned business. Put our resources into Hispanic-owned businesses. Do the things that poor people come together collectively. Let's not just think it's our vote. It is our dollar. Let's keep it moving, folks. I told you it's going to sting. It's going to hurt. If you got any questions while we're going through this, please do not hesitate. Drop those questions in. I'll be more than happy to pause and stop, answer those questions as we're going through. But this is a master class in what happened to our neighborhoods, and it's continuing today.
Part 8. The consequences across generations. When a Black family lost land, it didn't just lose shelter, it lost mobility. That property could have funded education, seeded businesses, or become inherited wealth. Instead, each bulldozed acre compounded generational debt and dependence. Economists like Mircea Baradaran and William Darity identify these cumulative dispossessions as critical drivers of today's racial wealth gap. In short, what was taken was not just dirt, it was destiny. Part 9. The places we walk today. Each year, millions stroll through parks, fish in lakes, or drive down boulevards paved atop the remains of vanished communities. Beneath our feet lie forgotten foundations, church ruins, and unmarked graves. America bulldozed the evidence, but could not drown the truth. A nation cannot correct what it refuses to remember. 3 questions before we end. 1. If entire Black communities were destroyed and property stolen, should the nation acknowledge and repair that theft? 2. If today's wealth gap is built on yesterday's seizures, who bears the burden of redress? 3. And if the evidence has been publicly archived for decades, what does it reveal about a country that calls itself free yet forgets its buried foundations? Power rarely announces its theft. It buries it, renames it, and calls it progress.
All right, so we started off with 3 questions. I hope those resonated with you while this article was playing itself out. We're going to end it, obviously, with 3 questions that hopefully will leave you thinking and hopefully will allow for you to say, wait a minute, time out. Let's put the brakes on this situation. Let's pause for a minute and go back over what we just heard. And then I'm hoping that you go out and you do your due diligence. I'm hoping that, again, that you do not, and I must reiterate this, do not be angry. Do not be mad. Do not be upset. Do not give the naysayers and the peddlers of misinformation stations the ability to say, look, see, I told you, that's what they do all the time. We're changing the narrative. Don't let my passion right now be misconstrued for, oh, that's an angry Black man. No, I'm not an angry Black man. I'm an intelligent Black man. I'm a highly educated Black man. I'm an educator Black man. I'm a business owner Black man. I'm an executive director Black man. I'm an advocate Black man. I'm an activist Black man. And I do my history. I do my due diligence before I put any of this out there into this space where I know it's going to be criticized or it's going to be ridiculed. But as I said, open invitation to anybody who wants. All right, so these 3 questions, all right, that we leave you with is, if entire Black communities were destroyed and property stolen, should the nation acknowledge and repair that theft? I think they should. And I'm hoping there's probably other people out there who might think the same. If today's wealth gap is built on yesterday's seizures, who bears the burden of redress? Okay, Congress, okay, elected officials on all levels, state, local, city, municipalities, federal. We know what you did and you know what you did. And third, If the evidence has been publicly archived for decades, what does it reveal about a country that calls itself free yet forgets its buried foundations? I told you I'm going to sting. I'm going to make individuals feel some kind of way. And this is going to continue to keep going on. This doesn't stop here. Oh, no. Oh, no. We're going to dive even deeper. There is more atrocities coming up. There is more things that stole wealth from a variety of individuals in this country. And there needs to be some reconciliation. And we're not doing it through evil tactics. We're not doing it through misunderstandings of what this looks like. This is passion. This is love. This is everything that you are afraid of, because what is it doing? It's putting out the raw truth about what took place and what has happened. All right. So again, this is something that I hope everybody goes back at another time frame, dives into it, and really starts to think, wow, this brother's doing his job. He's doing his due diligence for not just me, not just mine, but for all. Every single ethnic group that has been oppressed, every single ethnic group that has not received what it should be receiving from this country, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We now have to decide, what do we want? Do we keep the same status quo, or do we venture off into a space where there could be some equity, where there could be some growth? But it's not up to me. It's up to us. I'm just giving you the information. Oh, yes. All right. So we're going to move on to this next, the PowerPoint. Thank you so much for that article. I know that hopefully everybody did get it, get engaged with it, but we're going to move over now to the PowerPoint presentation, which is going to dive a little bit further into the understanding of what we have to do. All right. So the buried map of America, the buried map of America. How do we get here? Why do we get here? What do we have to do to make sure that this doesn't continue? And trust me when I tell you, I'm going to be doing my part. Question is, are you going to do yours? Are you going to do yours? Because if you do, we come strong. Again, I can take one pencil, snap, boom, gone. I can take two, snap, boom, gone. But let us put 50 together. Let us put 100 together. Let us put thousands together. We got a No Kings rally coming up here on the 28th. I'm hoping that a lot of people turn out, because this country, we separated ourselves from a king. We don't want another one. This experiment, which we call America, is still in that experimental phase, even though it's 250 years. We're going to have those ebbs and flows. But the question is, who prospers while we're going up and who prospers while we're going down? All right. So 3 more questions. Again, it's always about putting some information out there, getting you to think before we dive into the content. All right. So if property owners is the foundation of wealth in America, what happens when entire communities are stripped from their land? All right. If government has the power to take land through law, who protects the people when power is abused? If millions walk on buried remains of communities that were erased, what else is America's history has been quietly covered up? All right. Power rarely announces itself, or it announces its theft. So it's up to you, folks. As I say, I'm just putting it out there. Hopefully you'll take me serious and you'll start doing your due diligence and pausing on how you're delivering or giving those resources up freely. Believing in blind justice, believing in individuals blindly as if they're going to do something to help your situation. The only one who's going to help you is you. But you're going to have people like me who are going to give you all the tools, all the resources, all of what you need. And we're still going to be there to walk with you while we're addressing the unmentionable understanding of what has happened to a lot of our wealth. All right, so America's hidden land history since 1865 until 2020. All right. Major milestone. Reconstruction, land seized. Jim Crow displacement. 1949 Housing Act. Highway Act of 1956, urban renewal programs. So this wasn't just something that they just said, oh, we're going to just do this because it's going to help all citizens. No, this was to do this to marginalize most citizens, to keep a certain percentage of the population from that prosperity that was promised. And it's still going on today. You want to know how? Through wages. The federal minimum wage currently today is $7.25. Yonkers has a minimum wage of $15, depending on where you live in Yonkers. I mean, in New York State, has a minimum wage of $17. Your employers are basically saying, hey, you asked me for another penny, I might have to let you go. Why? Because we live in an at-will state. Now, think about that for a second. Which elected officials said, hey, you know what? I think we should make our state at will. We don't want to give these people any liberties to make sure that they can argue about whether or not they should be fired. No, what's wrong with us? Let's put into the law books an at-will state. That seems crazy to me, that you would be fired without cause. At least let me do something. Let me steal a pencil first and then fire me because I took company property. But just because the books are not hitting those numbers, we're going to have to reduce. Just because you have a situation where you have people being abused by a government entity, we're going to keep TSA from getting paid and then blame them if they call out. It's still going on today. We get government shut down more than anything, but yet Congress still gets a paycheck. Still going on today. We're looking at it through other means when we talk about how land has been taken away, but some of your liberties and rights are equally being taken away. Same outcome. All right? Property is power. And we see it in our neighborhoods. We see these new structures being built. We see how they're not affordable. They're unaffordable. We see how we were supposed to be having a conversation about low income and affordable housing, but they're building apartment buildings and new developments at $500,000 and $700,000 per unit. So multi-property ownerships. We're seeing homeowners. We're seeing where a whole community has been stripped away from the possibilities of owning through something like a credit report, where Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian exploit, where banks don't do the things that they need to be doing to make sure people have home, where you can pay your rent, and your rent could be $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000. And it should be a simple understanding. A bank should say, well, hold on a second. You've been paying this, making somebody else rich. Well, let's put you in a home. I'm sure you would probably do far better with your own property than making sure that somebody else has. And again, home ownership might not be for everybody. But remember what I said in the beginning. Home ownership builds wealth. It creates the opportunity for wealth to get started. But you have to decide. But before you decide, you have to know why we're where we are. All right? Workers without assets. Okay? Workers without assets. This is a pyramid. This is what happens. And you'll never get to that multi-property ownership if we don't start addressing the things that have been oppressive to all of us. But you're going to have to decide what's more important, keeping the status quo, keeping individuals comfortable, or standing firm about the resolve that we're looking for or desperately need. All right, the wealth gap, home ownership divides wealth. All right, home ownership divides wealth. White households, 188,200. Black households, 24,100. All right, that's a Grand Canyon chasm. That's not a little puddle. That's a huge monstrosity of a gap. And they keep trying to say it's a crisis. No, it's a catastrophe. And the only way to change that is to hold these elected officials accountable to doing what they promised they were going to do when they got elected 20, 30, 40 years ago. 40 years ago, you're serving a body, whether that be a congressional body, meaning the House or the Senate. 40 years long, you became a multi-millionaire, but yet the citizens are still begging, pleading. For what? For you to finally do your job? As I said, I can go on and on. Federal Reserve System. This is not me just pulling it, grasping at straws, or pulling stuff out of the air. No, there's the evidence for you. Federal Reserve System. So let's talk about that Lake Lanier. But beneath the water, what lies beneath the water? Lake Lanier is now one of the most visited lakes in the United States, one of the most visited. Millions of tourists arrive every year for boating, fishing, and vacation. But the waters cover the remains of communities that were once existed. There was Oscarville. Never knew nothing about it, never had a clue. And I bet a lot of you equally didn't have that same clue. Today, divers have discovered or documented foundations, walls, roads, and graves marked still underwater. And as I said, we're not mad, we're not upset, definitely highly disappointed. No question about that, because wealth was stolen. It was literally stolen. All right. What tourists see as recreational land or recreational lake is also a submerged landscape of erased history. All right. So next time you're visiting Lake Lanier, take a few seconds and think about, whoa, especially if you're African American. I know we got a lot of situations out there where books are being banned, where all these things are happening and things are being erased because it might interfere with someone else's ethnic group because they don't want them to be stigmatized. Well, God knows we've been stigmatized. We've been put through the ringer. It didn't hurt me. It helped me. Same thing will happen to those who are trying to erase history now. Not going to hurt you. It's going to help you. Ethnic cleansing of Forsyth County, Georgia, at the turn of the 20th century was home to a large African community that included ministers and teachers, farmers and field hands, tradesmen, servants, and children. But then in September of 1912, three young black laborers were accused of raping and murdering a white girl. Where does that story sound so familiar? Just seems like it's the common trend. It just seems like, oh, it's okay that we can, what? We can say, oh, it was these folks, and then here comes the mob. One man was dragged from a jail cell and lynched on the town square. Two teenagers were hung after a one-day trial, and soon bands of white night riders lynched and coordinated campaigns of arson and terror, driving all, again, look at that number. Look at that number. Driving all 1,098 black citizens out of the county. The charred remains of homes and churches disappeared into the weeds until the people and places of Black Forsyth were forgotten. It should disturb you. It was disturbing me while I was writing. I had to stop a lot of times to just pull myself back, gather my understanding. How could people be so cruel And we're seeing that same cruelty play out from the person who's occupying the White House today. We're seeing that same cruelty from a party that used to be well, a lot of blacks used to be part of the Republican Party. How we switched it over to a party that was pretty much the KKK. I'm still, and that will be another PowerPoint and an article that I'm going to have to put together. How is it that we went from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party when the Democratic Party was full of the KKK? But this is history, folks. History, which is no mystery. All right. So another one. All right, flooded lands. All right, Seneca Valley. Look at that map. Okay, this is, again, look at what we're looking at. Cemeteries, churches, Main Street, West Road, cemeteries. All right, in the middle of it. Sunken cemeteries, old roads. Flooded by our government to do what? To create some fancy little place so that people can go and say, oh, look at me, I can fish, I can swim. Seneca Valley. Seneca Valley. Many times as I've walked through Central Park, never knew one bit about what lied there prior to. And then they're going to give the man an airport. Oh, yeah. LaGuardia. He was the mayor at that time. We need an area of beautification for the neighbors. So we're just going to snatch away what could have been prominent, what could have been. We're just going to snatch it away because we, what? Eminent domain. Regentrification. A rare black land-owning community founded in 1825. Seneca Valley was a remarkable place at a time when property ownership demanded voting rights in New York. Black residents purchased land and built homes. That's what one's supposed to do, right? That's what you're supposed to do. By the 1850s, the community included roughly 225 to 300 residents, 3 churches, a school, dozens of homes and businesses. Many blacks were property owners. So that's inheritance that's been snatched away, stolen, which was extremely rare during that era. So the seizure in 1853, New York State authorities, New York State authorized the creation of Central Park. City officials invoked eminent domain, a legal doctrine allowing government to seize land for public use. More than, again, look at that number. 1,600 residents across the entire park site were displaced. Did you think displaced means that they got compensation for it? No. Do you mean displaced means that they got another place to live? No. So displaced in this context means that they were put out, find you somewhere else to go because you can't stay here. What's that saying? You don't have to leave, but you can't stay. You have to leave, but you got to go. Think that's how it goes? You don't have to leave, but you got to go. But you got to get out of here. Is that how it goes? So displaced in so many words is not the same. So many letters is not the same. So many meanings, not the same. So among them were families of Seneca Valley. Compensation was paid, but historical records show many residents received far below the value of their property. Okay. So yes, they said, okay, we'll give probably the same thing that they said to the Indians when they got here. Probably the same thing. That is, we were moving west and bought the Louisiana Purchase and all the other purchases that were made as they left the 13 original colonies and started going west. They probably did the exact same thing. No problem in that. All right. So again, homes were demolished. Churches were destroyed. The entire community disappeared. For over a century, the story of Seneca Valley was largely forgotten. And it was clearly longer than that because I didn't know nothing about it. And I'm sure there are plenty of you who are probably scratching their head going, wow, that Central Park was Seneca Valley? I never knew. Only in recent decades have archaeologists and historians rediscovered its remains beneath the park. So let's talk a little bit about eminent domain. All right, eminent domain in the United States, eminent domain is the power of the government to take away someone's private property. Okay, think about that. And they're doing it today. First, private property can be taken only for public use or public works projects like roads and bridges. Second, even if a property is taken for a public use, the owner must be paid just compensation. So whatever the government or whatever the city or whatever that might look like deems as compensation, this is all you're going to get, sir. Sorry. Wish I could give you more. Eminent domain was intended to be a narrow power and has rightly been called a despot power of government, given its vast potential for abuse. Think about that again. Power of government, given its vast potential for abuse. It could destroy lives and livelihoods by uprooting people from their home, businesses, and communities. And this has been going on for decades. Okay, as I said, we're about 4th of July, 250 years of this nation going through its problems, going through its challenges, going through whatever that might look like. But now we're at a point where we're going to have to decide because we have somebody in that White House. We have somebody in that people's house who is doing some things that are questionable, and every single citizen needs to start thinking about what type of future does this country want. And it's not that hard. It is not that challenging. So for years, the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution and similar provisions in the state constitution greatly restricted this power. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's no longer a no-brainer. It's now, what do we do with our understanding? How do we move this into a space and place where we're going to be okay? Where we're going to be able to do the things that we need to do, where we're going to have the abilities to move eloquently through the situations that allow us to have what we need to have. Because if we do our part, and I've said it before, if we do what we need to do, we're going to be fine. If we don't do what we need to do, we're going to run into some serious problems. We're not going to have the luxuries. We're not going to have the understandings. We're going to miss out on everything that has been promised to us by this nation. It's not up to me to, well, maybe it is up to me. I apologize. Maybe it is up to me. Maybe it is up to me to continue doing what I'm doing. Maybe it is my God-given gift to not just have the gift of gab, to not just be a proud Black man or a proud veteran or a proud business owner or a proud executive director of my nonprofit, to be a proud teacher. Maybe it is my duty to be in the spotlight, to be in the camera, talking to everybody. We have talked about African-American history, but what about the indigenous people? What about those who came from foreign lands, coming here thinking that they were going to have the life, liberty, and prosperity? What about our immigrant brothers and sisters? I find it very challenging that a nation of immigrants tell other immigrants, you're not welcomed. I get it. There has to be policies. There has to be laws. There has to be a certain understanding, a pathway into, and I get it. It makes perfect sense. Nobody's trying to say anything other than, but we have to go back and we have to look at our history. We have to look back at, did we or have we been doing what we should have been doing? And if we haven't, if you want to change the Constitution, vote on it, change it. If the Supreme Court wants to take away rights, please, by all means. We got three bodies of government: the legislative, the judicial, and the executive. But let it go through the process. Let's not just have one person making decisions for a whole nation. It's not up to me, folks. It is not up to me, but I'm going to continue to keep doing what I've been doing, which is making sure that our people have what they need. I'm going to continue to keep voicing. I'm going to continue to keep advocating. I'm going to continue to keep diving deeper and deeper into the circumstances that are going to improve this nation and all our citizens. Every single last one of our citizens. That's my responsibility. That's my duty. That's my calling. And I get it. And I appreciate those who give words of wisdom. I appreciate those who allow for me to do what I do. I appreciate those who might criticize. But you got to remember something. My calling, your calling, is to tell me and give me and ask me, and hopefully I take all of it, but I can't. If I take all of it, then it's your calling, not my calling. Your calling was to give me your opinion. Your calling was to allow for us to have the discussion. Your calling was for you to be a part of the conversation, but my calling is to do what I'm doing here. And if your calling requires you to do it, well, guess what? Set up a camera, start doing your research. I'll give you critique. I'll give you compliments. I'll give you all of what you need. But what's your calling? How do you add to the conversation? Because if you do your part, guess what? As I said, that's one more pencil. That's another pencil. We're adding these pencils together. We can snap one at a time. Snap, snap, snap. But when it comes to that 50, when it comes to that 100, it's going to be hard to snap those candles. All right. So I'm just saying, as we wrap this up, I'm going to need more of our diaspora to do their part. I'm going to need more of our citizens to come to the table, to do the things that are uncomfortable. And guess what? If the table's already full, if they're not accepting anymore, well, we'll bring our own tables. We'll bring our own chairs. We're going to be doing some events over this spring as it comes into full effect. Next month is April, which is the first of the month is going to be April Fool's Day. So I'm hoping nobody plays no jokes on me. But the rest of the month is going to be Financial Literacy Month. And I'm hoping that what I do as someone who loves and appreciates this financial space that I've been given the opportunity to fill, given the opportunity to be in schools and help students, those next lawyers, doctors, physicians, astronauts, military personnel, president. We never know what any of these kids can be. But it's our duty to make sure that they are getting the education that they need. It's our duty to make sure that they understand how money works, as Dr. Yana B says on so many occasions. Because as I said before, if you do not make money in your sleep, you don't have stability, you have exposure. And these things have to change. So we're about 10 minutes out. And I would love a couple of questions. So if you have any questions that you want to drop into that chat, feel free to drop those questions in there. I do appreciate all the questions. And it's been a joy doing what I do, and it's going to continue to be a joy. When you love what you do, and I say it all the time, it's not work. It is not work. It just allows for me to continue to keep doing what I do best. And there's going to be a lot more shows that are going to be coming out with that same understanding. That same understanding with this same passion, with this same enthusiasm. And please don't get it mistaken as, angry. Not at all. Don't get it mistaken as upset, mad. Not at all. But I do bring a certain amount of heat. I do bring a certain amount of a level of understanding that I know we cannot continue in the direction that we're going. We have to change, and we have to change as quickly as possible, or we're going to fall right back into that same trap that they want you in. They want you there. They want you there for a reason. They keep you on the margins for a reason. They have created minimum wage for a reason. They have created at-will states for a reason. You're going to have to decide what's more important. Do you continue with the status quo, or do you decide to move on to something bigger and better? And that's only going to come through what you now feed the next generation. I've said it before, the Rand Corporation has done a study. And over the last 7 years, how do you acquire land if your credit is not good? That's a very good question. That is a very good question. So the first thing you have to do is you have to get your credit report. All right. Annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com. That's the first place where you go to take a look at what. Don't trust the one that comes from your bank. Discovery is giving one, Chase is giving one, or whoever that might look like. Please, annualcreditreport.com. If they're getting it from Annual Credit Report, great, perfect. But still do your due diligence as well. Go to Annual Credit Report and get your credit report. There's trade lines in each credit report. And each one of those trade lines is expressing what and how you have been managing your money. But that's the first thing you're going to have to do before you even think about going out, getting any type of property or owning something. And as soon as you get it, and if you may not understand it, again, call me, 805-428-9424. Pick up that phone, send me a text, set up a time frame on our link tree. Go to leveragecreditrecovery.com. Or excuse me, leveragecreditrecovery@gmail.com, and let's correspond. Let's do the things that we need to do to make sure that you understand what you have to do so there are no misunderstandings about what could be your potential means of owning property. And then once you do that, you'll probably find other issues, other concerns. CFPB said 1 in 4 credit reports have an error. All right. You cannot let your past prevent you from the future. You have to now start orchestrating a plan, putting together some strategies to move past what your past was. And once you do, I'm telling you, there's experts like me out there, willing, able to assist. But all we can do is give you the information. You have to then move once you have the information. All right? You put gas in the car and don't turn on the engine and hit the gas pedal, the car's not going to go anywhere. Well, we just gave you gas. We just well-oiled the machine. We now put tires on. You have every ability to move the vehicle. All you have to do is get in, start it up, put it in drive. That's it. Not reverse, because too many of us are still in that reverse mindset where we're going backwards, where we go backwards to explore what was. There's no reason to keep going backwards. In 2015, I came back to the United States. I came back to Yonkers. And I don't know why, because I'm still looking at, did I make the right decision? But I know I did. Every child that I see, every young person that I get the opportunity to express what they're going to have to do, it just brightens up a whole room. I was at a school yesterday, and I tell you, every single period was locked into every voice. I did 2 workshops over the course of, actually, I did 4 workshops over the course of March. Every single young person locked into every word because they weren't concerned, but now they're very much in tune They didn't know what to expect when they were in, or what to expect prior to getting to that workshop, but they definitely were locked into everything that was being said. All right. So as always, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for giving me the time. I want to thank you for always coming back and enjoying the program. Even if you are not with us right here, right now, please go back and tune in at a later time frame, but get this knowledge, get this understanding. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of my feet to the top of my soul, to the top of my head, crown. I want to thank you. Always be safe, travel well, and as always, America, be safe.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.